Welcome to the program now, Tulsi Gabbard. How are you, Tulsi?
Aloha, my friend. It's great to talk to you always.
By the way, I am pushing for you to be the Secretary of Defense if Trump would win. I think you'd make a great Secretary of Defense.
I appreciate that. I think there will be opportunity should Trump get elected to serve as Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense, to be in a position to actually begin to reshape our country's foreign policy to one that Trump has advocated for all along, one that puts the interests of the American people and our country first and prevents us from getting into these unnecessary, counterproductive regime change wars and begins to enact those policies that allow our country to succeed.
So I never thought of you as Secretary of State. That is an interesting idea. That might even be better than Secretary of Defense. But anyway, let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard. Kamala Harris. Kamala is probably the most left candidate we've ever had. And she's being really installed by the Democratic Party. I want to talk to you about the installation here in a second. But first, what would we be getting from a Kamala Harris?
You know, the Democrats themselves tout President Biden as the most, quote unquote, progressive president our country has ever seen. And this was supposed to be the guy who was going to come in and be a moderating influence on the Democratic Party, the guy who said that he would unite all Americans and serve all Americans. And from day zero, he did exactly the opposite. In dividing us by race and enacting these radical, woke agendas that are hurting our children, hurting our education system, hurting the safety of our communities. I could go on and on. You talk about these issues all the time. We've talked about foreign policy. Really, when you look at Kamala Harris, you can expect more of the same, but worse. I think what it comes down to is just the need for us to make sure that we remind voters over and over as we head into this election, even as the Democrats have changed their horse in this race, the substance, the policies, and quite frankly, the real decision makers behind the scenes who have been pulling the strings, whether it's Robbie Mook from Hillary Clinton's campaign or Tony Blinken from Biden's, decades with President Biden or President Obama's lackeys in the White House. These people have been making the decisions over the last 3.5 years. They are going to continue to call the shots, which means we can expect the same disastrous policies that we've seen and worse.
I really think that Biden was forced out. I think they held something over his head, either the 25th Amendment or hey, look at your son. We may not be able to stop the impeachment proceedings, because of the Hunter stuff. And they gave him a deadline of Sunday. This is all my speculation, by the way. Gave him a deadline of Sunday, and he folded. And I mean, it's clear that he's not running the country. He's not really running the presidency because. Why are you okay to be the president, but you're not there enough to run a campaign? That makes no sense. But then they pick Tulsi Gabbard to replace her, and it's surprising to me that Barack Obama is not for it. What'd you say?
Kamala,
you said they picked Tulsi Gabbard. They picked Kamala Harris.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
I tell you, we would be having a very different conversation here.
Yeah, I know we would. I'm sorry. They picked Kamala Harris, and I don't think she's going to be running the presidency either. I agree with you. But who is this cabal? Shouldn't we be asking that question and getting that answer?
We absolutely should, Glenn. It's the people who are invested. Ultimately, it's those whose power relies on having a figurehead that they can control. You can look at some of the people that I've mentioned already, who have been around Hillary Clinton. They are Hillary Clinton's lackeys. President Obama's lackeys, people who've been with President Biden for a long time. It's the military-industrial complex that profits from our country being in a constant state of war. It's those who are the unelected people in the national security state whose ability to control and take more of our liberties, again, relies on us being in a constant state of war. It's their friends in big tech and propaganda media who benefit from them having access to that power and that information. And it's the big money billionaires. Yes, it is the George Soroses, but others, Reid Hoffmans and others, who are incredibly influential beyond belief because of their money and their ability to exert control. Fundamentally, what is at the heart of this, of all of these different people that make up this cabal of woke warmongers? Of course, Hillary Clinton is the lead of that. They are people who don't care about our country, and they don't believe in the Constitution, and they're trying to remake this country into something that is their utopia of some sort, but that defies the very foundation of what our country was founded upon.
So you were a Democrat. We still would disagree on many policies, but I respect you because you're at least honest and love the country. And I truly believe that there are millions of Democrats that are all across the country that I may disagree with, but they love the country and they don't want to see it fundamentally destroyed and transformed. They don't agree with these policies. And they've been so brainwashed that they don't stand up against, they believe that Donald Trump is the threat to democracy, and they don't see what their own party is doing. How is it they can go out and vote and then have these delegates and these super delegates disregard that vote entirely and say, no, this is who you get? How are they not up in arms, Tulsi?
Well, first of all, let's just go back. There were a number of states that did not even hold primaries. And so and those that would not allow other Democratic candidates, because, obviously Bobby Kennedy was running to be the Democratic nominee. There was a member of Congress, I can't remember his name at the moment, who was running, obviously Marianne Williamson, and may have been a few others who were running to be the Democratic nominee. Many states would either not allow them on the ballot or did not hold primaries at all. So the Democratic Party, led by President Biden, that claims to be the champions of democracy, would not even allow a democratic process within their own primary. So the anti-democracy initiative began there, and it continues through. So we shouldn't be surprised to see what they are doing today. They are trying to pretend that this is not a coronation of Kamala Harris. President Obama saying, this will be brought to the convention and delegates will have the opportunity to choose who the next Democratic nominee for president will be.
Delegates will.
But we know that's just a facade. It is just a facade. It's already been wrapped up.
Tulsi, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I know you got to run, and you've just been overseas, and keep it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
You bet.